Talking about now descriptive research, there is comparative research, which is a strategy used to measure the behavior of two or more types of subjects at one point in time, and then draw conclusions about the similarities and differences between them. So remember, with descriptive research, we are just describing, right? Passive observation. It could be considered analogous to a multivalent experiment, which is experimental empirical, when you compare three or more groups of subjects who could be classified along some continuum. Or it could be analogous to a parametric experiment, where you compare groups that differ simultaneously with respect to two or more classification variables. There are two disadvantages. It's difficult to draw conclusions about the cause of the criterion variable difference that may not be found. Other variables may concurrently operate with the classification variable to influence the criterion variable. Developmental research is another type of descriptive research, which is a strategy used to measure changes in behavior or characteristics of people over time. You might have heard of these. If we wanted to study maturation or aging, we have cross-sectional research, longitudinal research, and semi-longitudinal research. This is all considered descriptive research. Cross-sectional research are observation involving selection of subjects from various age groups. Comparisons of differences among the average behavior or characteristics of the different groups are made. So, a selection of subjects at various age groups and comparing them. Longitudinal research involves following the same group of subjects over time and measuring changes in their behavior. Longitudinal research is very expensive and time-consuming, and you have to worry about subject attrition, which is subjects leaving or disappearing or dying. But it also provides a lot of information in that it directly shows how subjects mature in their behavior and how they age. So there have been a few very long-standing longitudinal studies where governments will just track different groups of people over an extended period of time and collect tons and tons of data on aging and, smoking, drinking, food, diet, stuff like that. The longitudinal research often includes only a small number of subjects because it's very hard to track and it's very expensive. So it could be hard to generalize if you're only studying a small group of subjects. A more efficient way to do it would be semi-longitudinal research, which involves dividing the total age span into several overlapping age spans and, say, following those overlapping age spans for 5-year periods. So, following a 10 and 15-year-old, following an 11 and 16-year-old, 11 to 16, 12 to 17, 13 to 18. You get what I'm saying? So they're like overlapping periods for 5 years or whatever amount of time. Another type of descriptive research is correlational research, and this is a strategy used to study the relationship among two or more variables. It examines the degree to which changes in one variable correspond with or can be predicted from variations in another variable. So a question is, how closely related are these variables? And you can answer that by examining the performance of a group of subjects on the variables. And then you could see how strong the relationship is with regard to how much variation the two shares. So it indicates a relationship, a strength of a relationship between two variables. If you have a positive correlation, there's a positive increase in one variable that is associated with an increase in another variable. A negative correlation indicates an increase in one variable that is associated with a decrease in another variable. And a zero correlation indicates that the two variables are unrelated. Correlational research is usually depicted on scatter plots. which plot the functional relationship between the two variables. So here you can see there's a very strong correlation. You see how the dots are close together, close to the line? With correlational research, we can also ask, how will the performance of one variable be predicted from the knowledge of the performance of another for a typical subject? It can be a powerful tool for learning what aspects of human behavior share common properties. If a strong relationship exists between two variables, then we could predict one variable from the knowledge of the other, but we can't imply causation. So we can't say a change in one variable results in effect of a change of another variable. But we can say if one variable, increases, then the other variable will likely increase too. And variables, like I said, are measured on scatter plots.